Rashad, I'm truly impressed that you were able to guess my look today. Hair down, black shirt. He got it right. I'm very, very, very impressed. All right, everybody, welcome to Monday's stream. We've got some really interesting stories to address. Some of them a little bit more political than I would like, but I don't think we should shy away from very important topics in the entertainment space. They're still in the entertainment space, so we just have to do it, man. So yes, some of you have noticed that there are new badges. There are now 3- and 4-year badges. This is the most amount of badges that YouTube will allow me to give. And I took one of your suggestions. I'm sorry, I don't remember who suggested it. I feel bad. But there are now 3-year Emerald and 4-year Ruby badges. And so I created those on Friday, and I'm glad to see that some of you are already sporting them, and you look pretty sparkly. Hey, Jose. All right, so as always, the way streams work is that please try to keep your comments and super chats to the subject at hand. If you don't, I might not be able to answer them. So I feel bad, but I gotta keep this thing on point. Please save your questions that have absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about until the final 10 minutes of the stream. And that's when you can ask me anything that you would like. Jose, I'm so glad you made today's stream. Jerome, thank you for gifting a membership. So kind, so generous. The generosity of this community remains unparalleled. And I look forward to being able to gift memberships myself as soon as YouTube allows me to. Danielle, Ruby looks good on you. Ruby looks good on you, Danielle. All right. Yeah, I'm impressed. A lot of emeralds and rubies. We got a Seven Dwarfs diamond mine in here. Looks pretty sweet. Hey, Clint. Or I guess they're a little bit like infinity stones, as some of you predicted. All right. So let's get started. Okay. It's a lot of craziness today. Let's try and keep it civil, folks. Okay. Story number 1. Boop. The SAG Awards were last night. And somebody asked me just a few moments ago on Twitter, what's going on with the Oscar voting? Well, the Oscar voting starts actually on March 2nd. It starts on Thursday. So the awards that you're seeing right now will affect Oscar voting, and that's why one of the reasons that they're so important. Also, the SAG, as actors, and actors are the biggest branch of the Academy. So it's not 100%, but you're starting to get into the craft awards, and people who are memberships of these things are memberships of the Academy as well. So anyway, Oscar voting starts this Thursday, and it ends March 7th with the Oscars right around the corner on March 12th. I'm excited. I'll definitely be live tweeting the Oscars. I'm wondering if there are going to be any trailers that drop during the ceremony. That would change my coverage substantially. And then, of course, as always, I'll be doing a breakdown of the winners. So let's talk about the SAG Awards. It was quite the roller coaster of the evening. My God. Usually there's a pretty clear people who are going to be the winners. But in this case, there's really a lot of, there's still space to maneuver for the Oscars this year. It's not 100% who's going to walk away with any of those little golden statues. JK, I'm glad you enjoyed the SAG Awards. They seem to have some funny elements. Of course, aired on YouTube and trended quite high. So did The Last of Us. There was room for both last night. There was room for both. So A24 really dominated. It was a wonderful evening for A24. They took home all the acting awards because The Whale is also is one of their films as well. Hey, Zach, Abby, thanks for gifting those memberships. So A24 took home all the acting awards and the Best Picture equivalent. We'll go over the winners in just a moment. But Everything Everywhere All at Once had a very good weekend, in fact. They not only took home the SAG equivalent of Best Picture, but they took home the Producers Guild and the Directors Guild wins. So it looks like that's as close as you can get to a lock for Best Picture. You never know for sure, but it's looking like Everything Everywhere All at Once will probably win Best Picture. The other trophies, not so sure. So in the movie section, let's go over the winners, and as we do, we'll discuss what they mean. So for movies, again, Everything Everywhere All at Once won the equivalent of Best Picture. I think that's wonderful. That's my choice for Best Picture. Brendan Fraser got a win, a much-needed win. Austin Butler's been, taking all the wins. We'll do some polls, Rudy. We'll do some polls. So Brendan Fraser, he got a major win. Winning the acting award is very good for him. I mean, I think that really helped him. So Brendan Fraser won for The Whale. Michelle Yeoh beat out Cate Blanchett. That was huge. I mean, if anyone was going to give Cate Blanchett an award, it would have been SAG. So the fact that she didn't get it, oh, thank you, iReady, for gifting another memberships. It's very kind of you. So Michelle Yeoh, that was fantastic for her. Very, very strong signal that she might indeed win the Oscar. Gigi, we're going to get to Jamie Lee Curtis in just a moment. Hey Daniel, although I understand your concern. Michelle Yeoh won. Ke Huy Quan won for Best Supporting Actor. And then a real surprise was the upset in the Best Supporting Actress category, where Angela Bassett did not do the thing, and Jamie Lee Curtis took it instead. Also from Everything Everywhere All at Once. And, this is a difficult situation. I like Jamie Lee Curtis. She is a Nepo baby, as she said in her speech. And I think that she did a fantastic job in that role. However, I feel like this, I think that, not to have a single black winner. I mean, you do have two winners of color, but Angela Bassett was like really going to win. And I think now, after she also lost at BAFTA, I think there's a very good chance she's not walking away with an Oscar, unfortunately. And some people have talked about the fact that maybe they shouldn't have, and I saw some pundits say this, is that maybe everybody shouldn't have talked about how, oh, isn't it cool that she's winning for a Marvel movie? Fall 2 just pointed that out, that SAG doesn't like Marvel movies. But, you're supposed to be judging the performance, and I thought Angela Bassett, who does not have an Oscar, I think I saw I thought for sure she had one. Apparently she doesn't have an Oscar. So you have two actresses here, and they're about the same age, Angela Bassett, Jamie Lee Curtis. So you could argue this is really both of their only time to get an Oscar. I mean, this is where you start to get into a difficult position, because I think both actresses are really talented. I really like both actresses. I think both of their performances were excellent. But I feel like Angela Bassett, I thought her performance was more interesting, to be honest with you. And I think that when you get to a certain point and a person has momentum in the Oscars, if you don't give them the Oscar, that in and of itself is a statement. So it's almost like, hey, Ray son, it almost feels like the industry was like, no, I don't like the industry's like, we don't like the way this looks. We've decided to change it. And I feel like that's really unfair. Like, what's not to love about Angela Bassett winning for that movie? I just thought that Angela Bassett did so much for the film. I thought that she gave incredible speeches that are rarely given to actresses in any film. That's one of the things I liked about Viola Davis in The Woman King. You don't see a lot of women play rulers, and you don't see a lot of women play generals, especially such forceful ones. And I think, you have to give credit to actresses of color for breaking down those barriers, and I think that's very exciting. And so they should get the credit for it. And Jamie Lee Curtis, got the nomination as far as I'm concerned. So it's a difficult situation, but I feel like because Angela Bassett has been winning so many of the awards up until now, it does feel like something's being taken away from her. And so I think that's one of the problems with having so many awards shows. And I think also this speaks to the fact that they are different. Okay, Rashad, that's a poll. Let's do a poll on this one. I was like, how am I going to do a poll for so many things? But you're right. Let's do a poll. Who should win Best Supporting Actress? We'll do Angela Bassett, Jamie Lee Curtis, and then we'll do neither, and then we'll do I would be happy with either one. All right, there you go. Poll time, baby. It's very tough. It's very, very tough, you know, but I feel like Angela Bassett, this is her year. And, you know, hopefully Jamie Lee Curtis will get more serious work off of this. Jamie Lee Curtis has been doing a lot of serious work, my friend. All right. So, yeah. So I think there are a few too many awards shows. And I think the Oscars are way too late. You know, I think that's also a bit of an issue. And then Top Gun Maverick won Best Stunts. So while you guys vote, let's go over to the TV section. All right. So in television, The White Lotus won Best Drama. Thank you, Blix, for gifting 5 more memberships. That's so kind of you. Abbott Elementary won Best Comedy, but didn't pick up any acting awards, interestingly enough. Then in limited series, Sam Elliott won for 1883. Yellowstone is so popular, it's starting to get a lot of recognition because, of course, Kevin Costner won over in Golden Globes. Jessica Chastain won for a limited series for her work. And she's very prolific. She's churning out a lot of stuff. And I was surprised that she beat Amanda Seyfried. So I thought that was very, very surprising. You know, that's the other thing. Sometimes these award cycles go on for so long, everybody feels Amanda Seyfried already won a bunch of stuff. So they go on to a new person, right? So it's like, when do we switch to somebody else? Jason Bateman, Best Actor for Ozark. I was very happy for that in a drama. Jennifer Coolidge, Best Actress Drama, beating out Laura Linney. Laura Linney ain't never going to get no recognition for being doing such a good job as such a hated character on Ozark. Jeremy Allen White won for comedy for The Bear. Gene Smart won for Hacks. That was interesting that Quinta Brunson didn't win and Gene Smart won yet again. And then Stranger Things won for Best Stunts. Juan, everybody knows the jig is up for White Lotus. Everybody knows it's a drama series. Zach says Angela Bassett was nominated previously, so is in the Academy. She has been a working actress and she's been honoring Chad. Who's Chad, Zach? Who has been snubbed. So I thought that I thought the TV wins were fine. You know, they don't have a lot of categories in the SAG Awards, quite frankly. Chadwick. Oh yes, yeah, Chadwick Boseman, of course. Such a wonderful, tragic situation what happened to him. But I don't think I think Angela Bassett deserves to win on her own accord. I don't think that she's winning, you know, for Chadwick Boseman. I think Angela Bassett is winning because she did a wonderful job, quite frankly. All right, let's see how the vote's going. Oh, you guys voted up a storm on this one. Here we go. Let's see the results. Okay, so 57% Angela Bassett. 20% you're okay with either. Well, just 13% are rooting for Jamie Lee Curtis, and 8% say neither. Natural Florist says, IndieWire reported a lot of Oscar voters refused to watch Wakanda Forever because it's a Marvel movie, and Marvel did not help its case by releasing Quantumania. Oh, wouldn't that be horrible if Quantumania took down poor Angela Bassett? She's like, I'm not even in that movie. Hey, Max, that would be horrible. That would be so bad. But in some ways, I would also understand it. That's rough. I don't think that's fair. I think that, you know, you're supposed to be judging the performance. So does anybody have any questions about this? We'll see who the winners are at the Oscars. Manny, Lashana Lynch didn't get any love for The Woman King. It was sad. I thought that should have been a career-elevating performance. Oh, let's see here. Devin says, let's not forget that Angela Bassett didn't win for What's Got to Do with It. Yeah, I mean, Angela Bassett's had an incredible career. Yet at the same time, so has Jamie Lee Curtis, although she's not as serious an actor. Oh, that's very generous of you, Dream. Dream says, I thought David Wong's speech was amazing. What an awesome career. And it really spoke to the importance of representation when he discussed how white actors would be hired to portray Asian roles. That's true. There's some really unfortunate things from not that long ago in Hollywood, you know, with actors being played. And you still see that happening a little bit. You know, the actor who plays, you know, I forget his name. He's in Top Gun Maverick. I think it was Danny Ramirez, right? He talked recently a little bit about auditioning for a role where it was supposed to be written for a Latino character. It was supposed to be a Latino character, and he got very close to getting it, and he even met with the directors, and at the last minute, they cast a white actor and rewrote the role, and he felt that if they could do that, why can't they rewrite in the other direction? And I thought that was a fair question. Whelm says, do awards change series cancellation decisions? Is 1883 canceled? I think that, Sam Elliott didn't even bother to show up to the SAG Awards to collect it. So I think I think it more helps the Yellowstone franchise. Aaliyah says, KY will be in Loki and he's been vocal and excited about it. Not sure this is against. Well, that's interesting, Aaliyah, but I don't think anybody really pays attention to that. He hasn't been in any of the advertising. And I think that if you asked your average Oscar voter, they would not know that KY Kwan was in the upcoming Loki series, quite frankly. Also, KY Kwan, coming from being an Indiana Jones and having to leave Hollywood for so long and go, back, and go to a whole entirely different industry over in Asia, that's a great story. That's a really, it's all about a good narrative when you're going to award season. Zach Abbey says, I agree with you, Grace. Angela is so deserving on her own accord, but also and then some. Let's see here. Sam Elliott was there? Oh, that's great. I was looking through pictures and they just used a headshot of him. They didn't show him accepting. That's great. Good for him. Apologies to Sam Elliott. Tweknor, oh yeah, okay, that's great. That's right, CH. Netflix hosting the Oscars was a big deal for them. Hey, JDS. And Javier says Jamie Lee Curtis's speech was so good. Yeah, it's impossible to get upset with Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, she's just really fun. She's really a great person, and she's really supportive of everybody else. She's a wonderful individual. So nobody can be like, oh, not Jamie Lee Curtis. You're like, why? We have these problems. Bass Creek's Child loves this group of people for winners for the Oscars. Well, you might get your wish. You might get your wish. Oh, Boab, that's incredibly generous of you. Yes, winning a SAG award definitely increases your chance of winning an Oscar. Not just because of all the publicity of winning, but because, again, it's pretty much the same voting block. So, if that many people think that you should win a SAG award, they're probably going to vote the same way when they cast their vote at the Oscars. And probably even then some, because some people might be swayed. Some people might have seen Jamie Lee Curtis's speech and said, you know what? She's so much fun. She's so awesome. Yeah, I'm going to vote for her. She's not just any Nepo baby. She's like a super Nepo baby. If you're not familiar with Jamie Lee Curtis, she is the daughter of Tony Curtis, and Janet Leigh, who was, the victim, the famous victim from the Psycho film. So she is quite the Hollywood royalty. Let's see here. Alexander Keener says, so happy to see an indie studio like A24 winning so much. Yeah, that's really... Quinn, are you trying to fast forward there, Quinn? That's funny. That's funny. All right, so yeah, it was very, very, very interesting. We'll see what happens with the Oscars, but I agree, Platinum Diva. It's going to be a really bad talking point of Angela. I think especially after what happened with the situation with Andrea Riseborough, it just creates a lot of smoke. And it's going to be hard for people to believe, understandably, that there ain't no fire. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure the Oscar people are sweating it up, being like, oh man, why'd I sign up for this? All right, so that's the first story of the day. This is a particularly interesting year. Politics has just seeped into everything. Quentin says, no, Quentin, I can understand your frustration and anger, but I don't know if that's a fair categorization to Jamie Lee Curtis. Carter James says, happy Monday, Grace. Hope you have... Oh, you too, Carter. Your Emerald looks good on you. Oh, you guys have so many questions. Okay, I'm going to answer these, then we got to move on to the next story. Jordan says, thoughts on Mark Wahlberg presenting the award? Yeah, I think there has to be, with cancel culture, what it is these days, and I think that Mark Wahlberg has some really horrendous stuff in his past that I don't know how many people know about it. But, I think society has to have a discussion about, can you come back from certain things? Did Mark Wahlberg do what's necessary to come back? That's too complex for us to have right now. But yeah, I'll say this. If I was producing the show, I would not have picked Mark Wahlberg to present that award. I just, why do that to the person who's receiving? It's just, why do that to them? JDS is happy to finally catch a live and be a new member as of today. Oh, I'm so happy to have you as part of the group, JDS. Your generosity is so kind. Thank you for helping through the pandemic and your amazing content, and obsessed with movie math. It's my Sunday ritual. Thanks, JDS. I was pretty happy that I got it up so early yesterday, and I'm going to continue to make sure that I do that. Just make sure I hit the ground running so that it goes up at a good time. J. King says, my second thought after my initial excitement and happiness for Michelle's win is Grace is going to be happy it was Michelle and not Kate. I was thrilled. I didn't love Michelle Yeoh's dress, though. It looked like a bunch of French fries had exploded. Let's see here. Peter, I thought a lot of people were poorly dressed on the SAG red carpet yesterday, but not Zendaya. Let's move to her in just a second. Peter, happy Monday to you too. And Max says, won't be a member for long because of fine. Oh, that's okay, Max. If you can't be a member, don't worry about it. That's why these streams are open for anyone to watch for free. And then membership is something that, if you want to comment, then you become a member. But don't worry about it. And every once in a while, I do a subscriber stream where subscribers can comment. My pleasure, Mark. All right. I love you guys both over in Ireland. So nice to see you. All right, let's move on to the next story. Zendaya! Oh, boop, boopity boop, boop, boop. Hey, Mario. Thanks for gifting a membership. Zendaya, by the way, does look stunning. What a movie star. Oh my gosh. And she's wearing purple and pink, some of my favorite colors. Her makeup is perfect. Her jewels are perfect. Her dress is perfect. I mean, wow. Talk about, there's your Barbie. She looks so good. It was ridiculous. So I was very happy for Zendaya. She had, I was looking, there was a lot of her fashions for some reason showing up yesterday. And I was like, she looks amazing in every single one of them. I like this look the best, though. And I think she really knows how to pose, too. She really knows how to pose on a red carpet. It's hard to do. As Tyra Banks will tell you, you got to be able to smize. Hey, Adrian, Zendaya clearly knows her angles, right? She knows how to stand, and I think she's able to look really gorgeous and very feminine and very sexy, but I think still be friendly to, female fans, So I think she's got a really great quality about her. I think Zendaya is firing on all cylinders. She's one of my favorite actresses working today. Hey, Jander, thanks for gifting a membership. That's right, Lisa. Elegant and classy. Elegant and classy. And now, extremely rich. All right, so let's talk about it. All right, so of course, Zendaya is quite famous for Euphoria. Euphoria is an interesting show. It has pretty good viewership numbers, but it is the most tweeted about show. It is made for social media. And Zendaya, of course, has won an Emmy for both seasons. That's how successful she is. So she's getting a lot of recognition for the show. And I thought in particular, her speech that she gave at the last Emmys, and she beat out some really impressive people. But she gave such a wonderful speech. And, part of you is like, well, she already has an Emmy. And then she went up there and she gave a speech about how she really took seriously all the people that she was representing and their mental health and what the show does for them. And you were like, oh my gosh, Zendaya should get the Emmy till the end of time. Hey, 80s model. And I think for her to take on that kind of responsibility is really incredible. And I think one of the reasons her performance is so authentic and so well received. So anyway, Puck News ran a story yesterday about how much everyone's getting paid in the TV space. And Zendaya became a headline because everybody loves Zendaya and, everybody she's quite the clickbait. So everybody ran the story that Zendaya has signed a deal to get $1 million per episode for Euphoria Season 3. She just negotiated that contract, and I'm very happy for her. And I think they had to do that. Well, I think they had to do that for two reasons. One is that she's working in a lot of movies and they have to make sure she wants to continue to do this show. I'm sure there's a part of Zendaya who's like, let me move on. I've already won 2 Emmys. You want to make sure you go out on top. I'm going to go and make more movies. Because, she's in Dune 2. I'm sure she'll be doing more Spider-Man. I don't know what happened to that tennis movie she was supposed to star in. But anyway, I think, so that's fantastic. So I think that part of it was to get her to stay on and to do another season. So she got $1 million. And I think the other reason that she got $1 million an episode was because there's other people getting $1 million an episode. So if other people are getting $1 million an episode, I think Zendaya should too. So let's talk about that. Oh, although one thing I want to point out to you is that Zendaya does not take home $1 million an episode, okay? That's very, very clear. It's very, very important to understand. Zendaya, and the reason she gets so much money is that she has a management team that aggressively negotiates that payday for her. So part of the money has to go to her agent. She probably has a manager. She has a lawyer who gets a percentage of that. Then she has to pay her entire team. She definitely has a publicist. She definitely has a stylist. Why do you think she looks so great? Yeah, that's right, Denzel. She's got to pay taxes. But, these other things all come off the top because she doesn't have to pay taxes on things that she pays to other people. Zendaya probably has a company set up that accepts this money, and then she just has her own salary. But, then her company would have to pay salary. Did Shake Shack really tweet about Michelle Yeoh's dress? It did look like Shake Shack french fries, I will say. So anyway, yeah, so she's got to pay all those people, and I'm sorry to say she probably has to pay security. So, we've seen pictures of her and Tom Holland walking around, and they do have a security guard with them. So that's a lot of money. That's an incredible amount of money. So she's actually probably taking, I'm sure she's doing very, very well. But don't think that Zendaya is walking home with all that money. It's just an important thing to remember. It's very expensive to be a movie star. All right, so who else makes $1 million an episode? So Sylvester Stallone. Pedro Pascal gets $600,000 an episode for The Last of Us. So he got about a little under $6 million for the season. So, and deserves every penny, by the way. He wasn't even really in episode 7. I wonder if they didn't have to pay him for that. If I were HBO, I'd be like, oh, you were not really in it that much, so I'm keeping my money. But anyway, yeah, Pedro Pascal, totally worth that money. All right, so Stallone, $1 million an episode for Tulsa King. Jason Sudeikis getting $1 million an episode for Ted Lasso. Just got my screeners for season 3, baby. Ooh, things are rough for the team. Paul Rudd and Will Ferrell both got $1 million an episode for Shrinking. They flushed that money down the toilet. Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren. You want to know why they did 1923, that Yellowstone miniseries? Because they got $1 million an episode. That's right. You're not hearing a lot of women here. Although, as Lloyd Lester pointed out, I'll bring them up in a moment because they weren't in this article, but there are some. Very few women are getting this amount of money. Hey, Rob. But, and also you'll see almost nobody of color. So Zendaya is representing doubly. So good for her. All right, so Michael Keaton got $1 million an episode for Dope Sick. I think that was worth every penny. Mahershala Ali is getting $1 million for every episode of The Plot, which is coming out soon from Hulu and also Onyx Collective. If you hear the term Onyx Collective, that is Disney's initiative for stories of color. I don't know why they need a special division for that. I think, you want everything to be on the same level, so I think you want to, I don't know if the show would want to feel like it's getting special treatment. I'd be like, you have a Mahershala Ali show. How exciting is that? I mean, if you didn't watch Mahershala Ali's True Detective, you are missing out. That was an incredible season. I watched season 1 of True Detective, of course, like everyone did with Matthew McConaughey. He actually won the Oscar. I think more for True Detective than he did for Dallas Buyers Club. Then I tried to watch the Colin Farrell season 2, but it was awful, so I stopped watching it. And then I went back and watched Mahershala Ali. I think Ray Fisher was actually there too. Very small part, but I watched that. It was Mahershala Ali and Steven Dorff, and that thing was amazing. If you're looking for something to watch, go watch that. And also, I guess Disney kind of owes Mahershala Ali since they keep making him wait to do Blade. They're like, oh, you want to go do this other thing on Hulu for $1.3 million? I'm sorry, $1.3 million. Ka-ching! And Mahershala Ali's an Oscar winner. He deserves every penny of that. Kevin Costner also gets $1.3 million for every episode of Yellowstone. That's how wealthy Kevin Costner is at this point. He's like thinking of walking away from Yellowstone. Oh, by the way, I watched The Highwaymen from 2019 on Netflix over the weekend with Kevin. I gotta tell you, Kevin Costner's usually pretty darn good. Not everything is like a gem, but I've never watched anything bad, except I think Waterworld is like the only bad thing he ever made. For the most part, when you see Kevin Costner, I mean, that's like talk about a movie star. It's pretty solid. And so anyway, if you're looking also for something to watch, The Highwaymen on Netflix was actually excellent. And it talked a lot about celebrity and like, I think how TikTok and Twitter actually like the social structure for that was evident even in the 1930s. This is actually a very good movie. Hey, CH, thank you. Rob Seconds, The True Detective, was wonderful. And I agree, the Alzheimer's commentary was fascinating. All right, so anyway, John Krasinski gets paid more than anyone. Okay, but yeah, by the way, Reese Witherspoon, Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Aniston got $2 million an episode for the morning show. That's incredible. And then also John Krasinski got $2 million an episode for each episode of Jack Ryan season 3. That's nuts. I think that also was to keep him doing it. But isn't that incredible? Isn't that just amazing? But I'm very happy for Zendaya. Again, you don't see a lot of women on this list. You don't see a lot of actors of color. And she's the only actress of color on this list. So she's a trailblazer. And I think that's really incredible. And so good for her. Good for her. Good for her. This is a lot of money. But again, they don't keep all of it. And their agents are really the ones who are driving it. Stephen Turner says Zendaya is also a producer on Euphoria. So she deserves that money. She deserves it just because I think Zendaya brings in most people into that show. Nikita says, hey, Grace, I know you haven't watched Euphoria before, but would you ever watch your character highlights in the show? I really do love the Euphoria memes and GIFs. I think one of my favorites is, hold on, is this Play About Us? Is I think one of the best I've seen. And I also really impressed with a lot of the talent coming out of Euphoria. Sydney Sweeney, I think, she got really political, but I don't know if that's going to hurt her career or not. And then also there's an actor, Aaron Holiday, I think his name is, who's in the new CB movie, and he's fabulous. He did a really, really good job. Erwin says, hey, Grace, so happy for Zendaya, but now thinking about it, it must have been an even bigger deal when the Friends cast scored their million per... Well, it was a very big deal, and also the actress who played Phoebe, I forget her name off the top of my head, she is very smart, and she got them all to band together. And they refused, usually one actor will get more money than the rest, whoever's considered the star. But on Friends, they all banded together and said, if you don't pay us all the same amount, we're all going to walk. And so that's how they got all that. Lisa Kudrow, thank you. That's how they got all that money. And so that was extremely clever. And it's very tough. It does create tough dynamics on a show. I was just talking to a friend of mine the other day about the fact that Hugh Laurie was getting almost $1 million an episode back in the day for House. And some of the other actors on the cast asked if he would maybe take a little bit less so they could get a little bit more. And he said no. And I don't think that's a fair position to put him in. And I think that, but I do think, so I think that's, it's tough. Who is responsible for a show's success? Pedro Pascal, of course, is wonderful on The Last of Us and deserves every penny, but I think Bella Ramsey also is crucial to the success of that show. I wonder if she has a deal set for season 2. That's funny, Jay King. Zendaya should be getting 3. Well, John Krasinski, how valuable are you to the show? I think that's also very important. And also, how popular is the show? If John Krasinski's getting that much money, and we've seen how well it's done in the Nielsen ratings, that's getting watched. That just goes to show that Jack Ryan is more valuable to Amazon than Euphoria is to HBO. Al Padillo says, although I love the show, Euphoria is so triggering and has few good messages. It's sad to see shows with good messages don't get that recognition. Well, I think a lot of people feel very seen by Euphoria. And Jerome says, hey, Grace, how much of the $1 million an episode does an actor keep after expenses roughly? Oh, that's very hard to know. That's almost, I would not, I know that agents and managers generally take about 10 to 15%. I think managers take 10, agents take 15%. A lawyer usually takes around 5 to 7% of the salary that they negotiate. And then there's quite a bit in terms of, I don't know how much her publicist charges. I don't know how much her security costs or how often she needs it. She probably also has assistants. Zendaya probably has assistants that are very expensive. So that's all part of it. Nacho says, I'm very happy for Zendaya, but I hope Sydney and Alexa also get a raise. They were the most memorable and viral moment. I see Nacho's talking about the gifts. The gift that I talked about didn't have Zendaya in it, and that's very interesting. How about the guy who makes the show, who writes Zendaya's lines? But at the end of the day, who's bringing in the audience is, I think, a big question. Who has the power to walk? That's another big thing. The other talent can't really walk, right? If Zendaya walked, and she could, because she certainly has enough other stuff going on, As Tiff just said, if no Zendaya, no Euphoria. And so that puts her in a position to negotiate more aggressively. And good for her. Typically in the past, women have been reluctant to negotiate aggressively. And I think that that's something women have to get over. You tell your management to be super aggressive, That's the whole reason you have representation. All right, let's go on to the third story of the day. Oh man, all right, let's try and keep this civil. Boom, baby. Let's talk about Reedy Creek. In direct contrast to Euphoria is like the anti-Florida show. And so let's talk about what's going on here. This is tough. This is tough. I want to try and keep politics out of this because I want to talk about what this means for Disney and why I have a problem with it and why no matter what political affiliation you have, you should have a problem with this as well. Let's see here. Joshua says, I've been sober for 5 years and I'm a huge Zendaya fan. However, the show is very triggered. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Joshua. But, good for you that you recognize the trigger and you don't turn it on. That's really good. You should be really proud of yourself. All right, so what is Reedy Creek? That's a great question, BM. All right, let's back this up. Let's rewind. Reedy Creek is the name of the organization that was founded by the Walt Disney Company and the state of Florida way back when they started Disney World. And it's one of the things that got them to go to Florida. They were considering a couple of different states for their East Coast project. And the reason they went with Florida was because Florida agreed to give them autonomy, complete autonomy over their parcel of land. And therefore they could do whatever they wanted, but they also had to pay for it. So Disney would foot the bill for all of, police, fire department, stuff like that, building the roads, but also maintaining the roads. It was all Disney. And so everything was going along just fine until the Don't Say Gay bill, of course, came out in Florida. And all of Hollywood was very quiet on it. But Disney had a difficult situation because not only do they have a very strong LGBT presence in their fandom and in their company, but they were forcing a number of people to move to Florida who were LGBT. And they said, I can't believe you're making me move to Florida when the state is moving against me and my family. So if this is the case in schools, and I think that there's some confusion as to what the bill is. I know some of you defend the bill. I think the issue is that, what do you do about can you even acknowledge gay parents? Can gay parents show up to events and be a couple? I think, of course, they obviously should be able to. I think that, there's no nuance to this bill from what I've seen of it. So I think that's really problematic. So understandably, a number of gay families did not want to move to Florida. So they asked Disney, they said, hey, you've got a lot of pull in this state. Could you maybe say something? So Disney did say something. They said, we don't like this. We don't like this bill. And they said and then Florida got very angry with them. And then Disney went and pulled all of their financial contributions to all the politicians in the state. Hey, Juan, on both sides, by the way. They were like, we're just not giving any money to anybody. And that really made the Republicans upset. And so they decided to dissolve Reedy Creek. And now, if Disney wants to get anything done, they have to talk to a board of directors that RonDeSantis gets to pick. Disney doesn't get to have any say in it. RonDeSantis picks, and he's picked some not great people. So let's talk about this. So why would RonDeSantis do this? RonDeSantis has very strong political ambitions to run for president. I think everybody knows that. And so I think, these are stunts that get him quite a bit of coverage on the national stage and have certainly endeared him to very strong conservatives. But I do think that he's ruining his national chances. Now, why would I say that? I'm saying it from a very analytical standpoint. I mean, I personally hope he's ruining his national chances. I would like to see both parties run moderate candidates. I think nothing would be worse for this country for both political parties to run extremists. And Ron DeSantis is an extremist. So anyway, I think that not only is he going to have a problem winning over, a lot of voters, but I think that he's going to have a very difficult time with getting corporate donations to his campaign. And also, I think for other Republicans on the national stage, because for the state to dictate how a company handles itself is a very slippery slope. Now, in the past, the way America has been run, is that the market decides, the people decide. If your idea isn't good, nobody will pay attention to it. If your product isn't good, no one will pay to go and see it, etc. That's the way these things are decided. As you know, I am a responsible capitalist. I talk all the time about how I think the getting rid of the middle class is the real root of all these problems. If we had a middle class, I think things would be a lot better across the board. But I'm not sure what it's going to take to bring that back. I don't think this is it. But anyway, Devin says, Grace, I think the resolving of Reedy Creek would pass taxes onto the taxpayers of Orlando. Even if this happens, the people of Orlando will oust him. Let's see. I mean, he won re-election just recently. But I don't think the Democrats, every time something bad happens or something I think not great happens, let's say, I think to be fair, it's often because the Democrats run the worst candidate to try and take down somebody. You're like, no, of course nobody voted for that other idiot. Hey, Skite. Skite says, fun fact about Waterworld. When I lived in Hawaii, Skite, that's got nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I'm thank you for sharing. All right, so anyway, the market should decide. The market decides. The people decide as consumers. Now, it's all fun and games, and you're all, some of you are very in favor of this kind of stuff, these strong-arm tactics, when it's supporting something that you like. But that's why America doesn't do this, because what happens when it supports something you don't like? Think about the mask mandates. Now, the mask mandates were done and were very unpopular with the kind of people who like what RonDeSantis does. But the mask mandates, of course, were done for public health. And so that was done it was a national health emergency. But what if the North decided to do, or, blue states decided to take the same tactics? I think you'd be pretty upset. So that's why you can't do this, okay? It's so un-American. For instance, and it's, in RonDeSantis, for instance, he was upset that a baseball team in Florida, one of their big baseball teams, said they were in favor of gun control. And so he pulled funding for a new stadium for them. And he didn't admit that that's why he did it. He just said, I don't think you need a new stadium. And it just happened to be after they came out against something that he was in favor of. And so you just can't do that, because that's where you start to head into being Russia. So it's un-American. That's just not how things are handled, and it's very bad. All right, so I would just caution you to just think about that. I think people are always very much in the now, and you should always think like down the line. You should always be like, wait a minute, how could this be used against me? So think about that kind of stuff. And I think that, that kind of corporate oversight is really bad. So let's talk about the corporate oversight. All right, so who is the board that's running now who does Disney have to go to hat in hand if they want to do anything? Well, it's a board of people who are made up of some people, one who donated $50,000 to RonDeSantis' campaign, so they effectively bought their seat on that committee. And then also the wife of the GOP chairman in Florida. She's also on the committee. So it doesn't really seem like, like experts in the field, right? Like, it's not like there's someone who's an expert in tourism or an expert who's a building expert or a zoning expert. Like, I think that's the other thing. Like, if you feel that Disney shouldn't get fair treatment, if you feel Disney's getting unfair treatment, fine, that's a conversation to be had. But this just seems punitive. That's where I think it really rubs me the wrong way. I mean, because you're like, who's on this board? Now, they have to approve anything that Disney wants to do. And the state now will handle all the services that are done on Disney property. If a road is damaged on Disney property, if there's a pothole, the state has to now repair it. And, I think it's going to take a lot longer and not going to be done as well as if Disney had to do it. So I think the quality of the experience is probably going to go down, which makes me a little bit sad because, of course, I'm a big Disney fan, and particularly of Disney World. RonDeSantis today during his speech said there should be no difference between SeaWorld and Walt Disney World. And I would say in response to that, you better hope there is, because a lot of people aren't going to go and fly down to Florida for SeaWorld. They don't. They come down for Disney World. And so I think that Florida, you might see a shift in who travels to Florida for vacation. It might just become more of a local vacation from Florida and neighboring states, Whereas before, the Northeast and also Europe, really huge visitors to Florida. But that could change if this continues. That's the reason Disney had such carte blanche, because they were the main reason to visit the state. Also, so you have a problem. Now, they could just do small-scale pettiness. Florida could say, we don't like some of your policies, or we don't like some of the stuff you said, so we're just going to decide, not at all correlated, not to approve some of your requests, right? It's real. So that's very bad. So that puts Disney, I think, in a very difficult position. Then what happens here? Like, they probably can't say anything about going on in a park that already exists. But let's say Disney wants to build another theme park that features, or they want to significantly expand an existing theme park to include a Wakanda land. What if RonDeSantis, based on some of his recent comments, would say that he felt that was indoctrination? And what if RonDeSantis said that he felt that building a Wakanda in Florida was, political, and it was, it was not the narrative that he wants in the state? Could he shut that down? That's horrible to me. Absolutely horrible. And so the company can't make their own decisions and Disney has to be concerned about stuff like that, I think is really appalling. I think probably what's going to happen, we'll see. Maybe they're going to hope that Ron DeSantis gets voted out, and then they can switch it. I think they might put a building freeze in Florida and just have it run and coast as is and put their focus on California and maybe buy land in that area and significantly expand that park. That's what you could potentially see. You might see a lot more building going on in California and building out the Disneyland experience, which, by the way, is also a fabulous place to visit. I've been to both parks. I've been to Disneyland Paris, also incredible. I still would like to go very much to Tokyo. But I think that's probably what I would do if I were the Disney Corporation. I would focus on California for now, and then probably donate substantially to any competitors to Ron DeSantis, Democratic and GOP. I would be like, I just want that individual out of there. And I'm sure, usually the Republican Party is very pro-company. And in fact, a number of Republicans have spoken out against this kind of political oversight of a corporation's activities. So, Ron DeSantis is out here on his own. And we'll see how it pays off for him. I think it's making him incredibly popular in Florida, but I do think he would be, at this point, unless the Democrats ran like a socialist, and that would be the dumbest thing they could do, I don't see how Ron DeSantis can win a national election. But he could be in Florida for a very long time. So we'll see. We'll see what Disney decides to do. Bojack says, can Disney take legal action since Reedy Creek was a reason they even picked Florida? Well, no, because it's been done as, it would have to be pushed to a state vote. I'm not sure if they could sue. Froggier says, with DeSantis punishing Disney by taking away their governing rights, will it force Iger to cave to DeSantis by removing LGBT representation from Disney's Wish? That movie's already completed, so no. And I don't think that they would do that at all. I think that, would there be a question as to what kind of the characters showed up in the theme parks? They might be concerned about that, yes, and that's horrible. I hope they don't give in to this. I hope that Disney does not give in to this, because it's blackmail. Heather says, why is Iger letting this Florida hold on. A lot of questions. Now I'm in the question section. I got to catch up. Hold on. 1 second. Heather says, why is Iger letting this Florida nonsense go on? He doesn't do anything or not do anything without a reason. If I were DeSantis, I would watch my back. Other Florida-based companies are watching. Yeah, I think Bob Iger is not that aggressive, and I understand that. I think Bob Iger keeps things to himself and plays it close to the vest. I think Bob Iger is going to keep his mouth shut, and as I said, donate to competitors both in the Democratic Party and in the Republican Party. Hey, passive aggressive, thank you. That's very kind of you. Jordan says, LGBT and POC youth are terrified in Florida. We are fighting for our rights, and well, good luck. That's very upsetting. Thanks another time, 707. I'm glad a number of you agree with what I'm saying. I appreciate that. I tried to be very balanced in my statements. Rob, Disney can't really move out of Florida because they've invested so much there. I do think they're letting it go just a little bit, and I think they won't continue to invest in the property as is. Boab says, I think that Disney should stay out of politics and focus on fixing their theme parks and entertainment and experiences. Well, Boab, they have to get involved. Well, first of all, Disney donates to politicians on both sides of the aisle. I think that's an important thing to remember. And I think that Disney has to be involved in politics because it's called lobbying. Now, I'm in favor of making lobbying illegal, but no politician will ever do that because they make so much money from lobbying. So Disney has to lobby in both states, in California and Florida. They make generous donations to both parties in both states to get preferential treatment, just like any company does, just like any individual does. How do you think politics works? And so Disney, and I think that Disney only got involved largely because they were moving so many people to the state. And I think they were stuck. They could have just said, all right, we're not going to move any of you to the state. But then, I think RonDeSantis was looking for a fight because he wants the publicity. So I think that maybe that's why Bob Iger's so quiet. He's like, I'm not going to keep this show going. Avery Jennett, thank you for joining. Devin Henderson says it's also scary as this is actual fascism, using political power to punish businesses for disagreeing with them. Yes, you have to go through the courts. That's how, if there's any issue with discrimination and stuff like that, it has to go through the court system. So you sometimes see that with people not willing to serve certain individuals. That has to be a legal issue. I think that, I don't know if anybody challenged that bill in Florida or not, but, I think that the situation in Florida is that a number of people are in favor of it. And so it's very complex. Passive aggressive says, funny how the GOP advocates a free market economy and free speech until it doesn't suit them. Well, passive aggressive, that's why I said DeSantis was on his own on this. DeSantis is really, a lot of Republicans don't support him on this move. Zach Abbey says, it's so messy the politicians, given all the problems we're facing, are so invested in social problems and flipping entertainment. Well, he wants to win. He wants to win. Paul said, I do feel that Trump comparisons are very strong between the two of them. Avery Jennett, you upgraded, Avery. Thanks, Avery. That's so kind of you. Rob, I already answered your question there. Stephanie BFI says, we're changing our trip from Disney World to Disneyland. That's interesting, Stephanie. That's interesting. You're going in March. Have a wonderful time, by the way. You're going to have a great time. I can totally understand where you're coming from. I'm thinking of going to Disney World. I'm really excited about it, but then I see headlines like this, and I'm not quite sure how to feel. I think Disneyland will be a wonderful trip, Stephanie. You're going to have a great time. Great parks. Great parks. Go to Universal, too, while you're there. You can go to Nintendo World. These things are all so close to each other. You can even drive down to the San Diego Zoo. So there's a lot to do in Southern California. Paramortem, Disney does not have autonomy in California, but of course the government's very friendly to them there. And they don't have the same amount of land. People own the property right outside of Disney. Disney could go on a buying spree. Disney's a little bit more like Universal in California in that they could buy property a little bit further away, and just like Universal did with Epic Universe, and they could do it that way if needed. Also, there's something charming about Disneyland, and that, of course, was the original. Thanks, Quinn. That's very kind of you to say. iReady says, some people don't really understand what they also have the right to say nothing and have several seats. It's funny, iReady. Thank you, Jacob Herrera. Cosmic says, there's a lot of construction here in Disneyland, mostly renovations and new buildings. A lot of improvement this year. Yeah, Disneyland, they're really building that park out, and I believe partially because of this. We'll see. By the way, money talks. If this starts to affect Florida tourism, that'll be interesting as well. But that's going to take a couple of years for that to happen. Although, of course, Stephanie has already made that decision. And I wouldn't be surprised if other people are making that same decision as well. A lot of Europeans used to go to Disney World, but they, of course, can go to Disneyland Paris, etc. Denzel, my favorite Disney park has been Disney World. Largely because I grew up going to that park. But I think all the parks are wonderful, and they all feel different, which is also really cool. Renata, hey Renata, that's a great photo of you. As a European, I always like to learn something new about politics in the U.S. It's sad that extremists have such influence in so many countries. Renata, I think that most people are moderates. But unfortunately, the loudest voices are often the ones that are heard, and those, of course, belong to extremists. And also, I think social media really benefits extremism. And I think that it makes it seem like these voices are louder than they are, which is why I think, that's why I try to remain positive about the situation. And I feel that in the long run, we'll be okay. I think some politicians need to start acting a little bit more responsibly, and I would love to see that. Wilson Hornsby says, as a Texan, I see a golden opportunity to offer Disney a Reedy Creek type deal to build a park down here. That's true, Wilson. I think there's a similar situation with the governors, unfortunately. I think they'd be nervous that they would get into the same spot. But Universal's building in Texas and it's going very well. So that could definitely be the case. Let's see here. Did I miss anything else here? Arthur, look at you, upgraded to 1 year, 2 years. That's fantastic. Devin Pullen says DeSantis should be focusing on raising the minimum wage to $18. That's a great point, Devin. I don't think that Disney totally is blameless. We just talked the other day about they're not paying their employees enough. And that would be a way, I think, for DeSantis to, take on Disney, but in a way that I think everybody would be supportive of. And it wouldn't be punitive. So it speaks to the theatrics of politics these days. Let's see here. Buck's Basement. We'll see if Iger is successful. Let's see here. Quasar says taking corporate PAC money is bad for politicians. Are you talking about like lobbying and stuff like that? I agree. I think it's really bad. Heather says a Cinderella castle would look lovely in Western North Carolina. Yeah, if I were a different state, I would be quietly reaching out to Disney for sure. I mean, if it got really bad, I guess they could dismantle it. I wonder if they could just pick it up and move it. I wonder if they could. All right, let's get to the Q&A section. We're running a little bit long here, and I got to get off soon. Hold on. All right, let me just, I can only do a few Q&As because I got to get off in just a few minutes. Oh, thanks, Dorothy. I'm glad you feel that my stuff is reasonable. I really am trying to be reasonable, because I don't like agendas in either direction. Hey, Daniel. I've not heard about that cameo, and let's not ruin Spider-Verse. Somebody the other day said they felt that Marvel movies were less fun to see because of all the leaks. So I'm going to try and take a step back from that. Ryan says, will you be ranking the Oscar Best Picture nominees? No, I don't think so. But I'll be covering that up to that point. And then says Max Rolo says, hey, Grace, I'm coming to the U.S. for 3 months from the UK for Camp America after I'm doing the Disney and Universal parks in California and Florida. Wow, Max. You're going to be here for a while. And Juan says, Grace is like me. I grew up going to Walt Disney World. I still have my original 2 CDs. Disney World is a great place. It's horrible to see this stuff happening to it. We had a great time with the Scream 4 watch-along. Thank you, Ryan. Lone Wolf Media says, hey, Grace, wanted to hop in and say I'm starting my new job in healthcare and I'm pretty nervous. Oh, I'm so glad you got this. I know you were just doing your resume a couple of weeks ago. What an exciting new opportunity and such a meaningful one. You're going to do great. It's always good to be a little nervous. That means you'll be on your toes. And this will be my last one. Diego says, I have a medical check tomorrow morning, and if I pass, I get my flight license so I can be a flight attendant. That's wonderful, Diego. I'm sure you'll pass with flying colors. That's so exciting. I'm sure you'll be a wonderful, friendly face in the skies. All right, everybody, I'm sorry I have to go a little bit faster. I'm sorry to go. I'm sorry I can't stay a little bit longer to do more questions and everything, but I have something I have to do at 5:30. But I had a lovely time chatting with all of you, as always, and I'm hoping to do a stream tomorrow as well. All right, bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.